Welcome to the next exciting edition of 42 Stories Anthology Presents. Today we have one of our special guest judges. She judged the zombie chapter in the anthology. Welcome, Colleen Anderson. Hi,
Hi, thanks for having me on.
and thanks for being here. So let's go ahead and start with your bio. In case, for those of you who don't know, she's an award-winning author. Her writing has been published in 7 countries at least, and her works have been in Amazing Weird Tales, Best Indie Speculative Fiction for award-winning anthologies Shadow Atlas, her Rising winning poem. I was just trying to say rising correctly because it's spelled Rhysling. Machine. Is that R evolution?
Machine Revolution, and
Oh,
again, there's a
okay.
play that the R is circulated, so it's either Machine Evolution or Machine Revolution.
Oh, okay. That's cool. So that was reprinted in how do I say this? Tenebros?
Tenebris.
Tenebros. Okay. Press. Brave New World. So yeah. You have quite a bio. I know that that's your second bio that I saw, but your bio is always growing in awards, and I think that speaks volumes of your work itself. So people listening should definitely check out your work, I think. When people get awards, it's for a reason. It's because people appreciate good storytelling, and multiple people are saying you do well at it. So so um, but yeah, you were the judge of the zombie chapter. Thank you for doing that. I want to officially say thanks. And
Oh, well, thank you.
where are you located?
I live in Vancouver, BC, so the west coast of Canada, becoming very expensive and unlivable city, but mostly good weather, mild weather, less rain than we used to get, and it's supposed to be the Pacific rainforest. So, of course, climate change is affecting us as well, and we're right along the Pacific Ocean. So we've got mountains a half an hour from here, and the the beach is close by.
Hmm. Yeah. How far is that from Nova Scotia? Because I don't know Canada very well.
West Canada, Eastern Canada, Nova Scotia's on the East Coast. So we're talking I can't remember, is Canada the second largest country in the world?
Yeah,
A
yeah.
vast expanse. I mean, it costs as much to fly from here to Nova Scotia as it would to fly to England.
Oh, I
So,
asked because the publisher's in Nova Scotia.
okay.
But,
Yeah, I've not been to Nova Scotia. I'd like to go sometimes,
hmm,
but they're one of the maritime provinces, and they're on the East Coast, and we're
so
in the
it's like a
West
whole
Coast.
nother world too.
Yes. Each of our provinces are about the size of England. So, and the whole UK, including Ireland. So, it would take several days to drive across Canada.
Hmm. So your work is published in several countries. Which ones?
US, Canada, England, Wales, Scotland, Australia, Netherlands. I feel like I'm missing one. I can't remember if it's been published in Ireland or not, but yeah, I think that's it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's quite a lot of places to find you. But where's your writing space?
This is my writing space, my
Oh,
couch. So on my couch, I have my little inner editor,
hmm.
which was made by someone, and it's weighted so you can throw it when you're frustrated. And I have my writing slug that came from a writing workshop.
Oh,
So these are my companions, and I pretty much do most of my writing on my couch, or I go to a coffee bar or a bar and I sit and write. Often when I'm working on poetry, I'll write it out in longhand first or work out the ideas. So I always have a blank book. But then I have a laptop and I sit on my couch, which I probably shouldn't do because it's not as good for the back, but I just find it more comfortable.
hmm. I think your editor doll is so adorable. I have something similar, but it's just paper. I've kept this since 2012. It was given to me by it's the rules of comma.
Oh,
And
right. Oh,
I
yes.
keep it
I've
on my
seen that
desk.
before.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I've had this so
Yeah.
long. I think it was made in 2000. And so it's 24 years old, this piece of paper, but that's my editor doll, which I don't always follow.
My editor doll came from there's a writer's retreat that takes place in Washington called the Rainforest Village Writers Retreat. And I haven't gone every year, but I go, and it's about 5 days, and there's about 30 people who will go and write, and then we'll get together for some social things and a few little 1 hour lectures. And at the end of the weekend, people donate books and other items like the little editor doll. And then there's a raffle. So this year I chose the editor doll since I have many books that I haven't got around to reading yet.
Yeah, it's a great reminder that of the importance of editing. And I think a lot of people feel they could be their own editors, but yeah, sometimes you need a little guard to say, no, you need another pair of eyes.
Absolutely, because you can't always see, you're still carrying on the story in your head
Hmm.
that may not be on the paper. So you're filling in the gaps that other people won't know about. So it is always great to have another set of eyes.
Yeah. I'd like to know about some of your inspirations, like artists and works maybe that maybe subtly inspired your writing. Can you think of any? I see a lot of art around you.
Yes. I'm not a minimalist, let's put it that way. Various things. It's like I have a I have 2 degrees. One's in creative writing, and one's in design with a photography emphasis. So I tend to not do much professionally with it, but I do take a lot of pictures when I travel, and sometimes those pictures and places I go physically are inspirations as well. There's the ekphrastic aspect of writing, which is that you're inspired by another piece of art to create another piece of art, whether it's a song because you saw a sculpture, or whether it's a story because you saw a painting, or even you read a story and make a poem based on that. So I'm often inspired just by what I read and what I see. I like to observe things around me. A story I just wrote recently, haven't sold yet, was placed in um, I think it's Klatovy in the Czech Republic, which I went to, and they have this 16th century apothecary that is still intact with all the artifacts and the flasks and the mortars and pestles and the tables that were used for hundreds of years. So I based a story in that apothecary and took many pictures when I was there because it was quite stunning and beautiful. And I wrote a very dark story, also based off of the Czech Republic, one of their myths. So I pulled that out. Sometimes I see paintings. There's a couple various sites like Rattle, which they do fiction and poetry, and they're known for doing like a monthly contest that's an ekphrastic challenge. So they'll put up a picture, and then you write a poem and submit the poem, and the judge picks one and the artist picks one, and you get paid. It gets put up. Never actually managed to sell one to them because it's very popular, but it has inspired me to write a lot of different poems. Sometimes things I see on the news, well, I don't watch the news that much. I listen to it on the radio, but so it's a lot of things. It could be a sculpture, particular artist, hard to say because that changes so much. And there's so many interesting, beautiful, scary, or deep pieces that bring about deep thinking in different ways. So like that would actually change every day as to what I'm inspired by. I've been in like a couple of like authors that I'm not naming dead authors, Angela Carter, Tanith Lee, like their styles of writing and the richness of the worlds and how they wrote. And Angela Carter wrote both mainstream fiction and speculative fiction. Just was like the way of using language is just so amazing that if I could even capture a part of that. Jeff Vandermeer, who is not dead, also has some very interesting ways of writing weird fiction and things that are bizarre and strange and intriguing. So it's like everything. It could just be driving down the road and I see something and my brain goes off on a tangent.
Yeah, that's a great way to go where you don't set limits and you just let yourself go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where's one of your favorite places? You have all these places you mentioned.
Um, I really liked Ireland when I went, and when I went with my sister for 2 weeks, about in 2007, and we drove around, and Irish maps and reality don't match, so we get lost. But there was a lot to explore, and then everywhere, like they have a rule that if there's an old Grange house and it's made with stone,
Hmm.
any stone you take out of your building, you have to reuse that stone in some way. It's like a rule or a law.
Oh,
And there's like, of course, there's New Grange, like the old 5,000, 6,000 year old um, buildings that they made that were probably used for ritual in some way. There's all the old Celtic crosses in graveyards. There's the Viking or the towers that the monks went into and the Viking raiders came. So stones just became so much a part of Ireland when I was there. I was very intrigued by like how the stones of Ireland kind of played a part at the time. So I really liked it. It's actually in some ways climate wise, it's very similar to Vancouver. It's rainy, it's hilly,
hmm.
but I just really liked it. It's kind of laid back. It's if you're not in the big city like Dublin. And also I liked the Netherlands, Delft and Den Bosch, which are again somewhat, well, Den Bosch is more bucolic with fields and where you see cows. I love the canals. To me, it's just very peaceful and beautiful.
Hmm.
So those are two of the places I'd really love to go back to and visit, and could actually see myself living there.
Hmm.
Just someplace that's not complete hustle and bustle, but is also has some beauty to the scenery.
Yeah, I went to the Netherlands too. If you go past like the tourist areas, it's a beautiful place to go and a lot of fun.
Exactly.
And you
Yeah.
can meet the locals that way too. The people should always go off the beaten path if they know someone.
Well, I agree. It's like when I went to Barcelona, also quite interesting with all the Gaudi works, the Sagrada Familia and uh, Casaballo, the made with all these mosaics and organic structures. It's just quite amazing. But my way of going anywhere is, sure, there's some of these historical sites you want to see, buildings and that, but I always wander down streets as long as I know it's the safe area. And just wander into like local cafes and that the locals would go to, as opposed to a tourist restaurant, which is actually too pricey and the food's not that good.
Yeah. Well, if you're in this a place where it's safe, where I've lived in Japan, it's so safe. My brother visited here in 2019, and he was handing me money to go convert, and we were standing in the middle of a subway station, and I go, just give it to me here. And he goes, there's people everywhere. I go, it's okay. You're in Japan. No one's gonna bother you. And he went, no, no, we need somewhere private. I go, okay, fine. But it wouldn't have mattered. It's so safe here. If you drop money, someone will help you get it and they'll give it to you. I've heard of cases where people have been jogging and they lost their wallet. Someone chased them down to give them their wallet. My first time, I forgot to take the about 2 pennies worth of money from a grocery clerk, and they chased me 2 blocks to give it to me. I felt really bad. But yeah, if you want to go somewhere really safe, Japan would be the place. But where's somewhere you want to go? Like the next country you go to?
Well, in fact, the next country I'm going to is in 3 weeks. I'm going to Italy,
Oh,
and I'll be going to Florence and Rome and a little town north of Rome called Casperia, and then a 1 day trip to Pompeii. And then I'll be going to England because there's the British Fantasy Society's convention called FantasyCon in Chester, which is in northern England. So I will be gone for 3 weeks, and I've never been to Italy. My mother's side of the family was from there.
oh.
So I'm trying to brush up on a little bit of Italian so I can say salve, arrivederci, because
Oh.
I don't speak Italian, but I always try in every country to at least learn how to say please and thank you and hello in their language,
Hmm,
even if they speak English, because I just feel it's a polite thing to do.
hmm. Why don't you teach me how to say hello in Italian? You know?
Uh, you can say salve
Salve,
or
that's what it,
ciao, and
ciao.
it's like io sono di Canada, which is I am from Canada. Io sono Colleen.
Hmm, okay.
It's very much, it's kind of like io sono. It's very rhythmic, the language. So it's very interesting that And maybe it's genetic. I sometimes speak with my hands. You can see I'm moving my hands right now.
That's
Maybe that
usually
comes from
good.
my Italian side.
Maybe a
But
tiny
it's
bit.
like, io sono di Canada.
Yeah. Well, Japanese is really easy. You just say des if you want to say your name. So you just say Colleen des. If you want the simple version, there's other ways, but yeah, if if you're in Asia ever, I don't know. It's pretty handy.
Yeah.
There's a lot of sweets actually in Italy. And I think in England as well. What are some sweets that you like that you might try there?
Well, I mean, if they're known for pastries, I can't believe when I went to France, I only ate one pastry the whole, well, I was only there a week, but I was like, I bought it at the train station. It was amazing. So a good pastry, I do like dark chocolate. So if there's anything along that, I have sitting here, I don't know if you have these anywhere in Japan,
No.
sweet tarts. So they're very tangy. They're made with like citric acid, and they're,
Mhm.
I don't know if you ever had the rocket candies. They're more tangy than that. I can only ever eat a couple at a time because um, they too much pucker power if there's too many of them. But they're nice just to have.
I'm
Yeah. So I
originally
don't
from
know. Like
Houston.
Italy, I'm not sure what kind of desserts there are. I'll probably try a few, and especially if there's chocolate, but no coffee because I don't like coffee.
Oh, I'm originally from Houston. We have those there.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, they're good. But recently I've been like less and less sugar.
Yeah, I may have, just like chocolate chips, like take a small little bit in my hand and have a bit just to kind of satisfy the sweet craving, but um I eat less of it than I used to as well.
Mm. Okay, now that we've gotten some icebreaker questions, let me ask you some writer questions.
Sure.
What inspires you as a writer? We talked about a lot of art. I know that inspires you. What else?
Oh, I tend to write mostly dark fiction. And when I first was writing, I wasn't, or I didn't think I was, but I was sending stories to publishers and they rejected saying, we don't do horror. And I was like, but this isn't horror. And so supposedly, I guess it is. So I am inspired. I've been working on, I did a series of short stories that are based off of Greek myth. A Greek myth is mentioned in the story, but in that case, each of the stories is about grieving and death with a little bit of hope at the end. So, like Pandora's box, there's hope left at the end. I started the stories before my mother and my brother died, but they died within a year of each other. And I realized as I was working on some of the other stories that it was all about death and grieving. So it might have come subconsciously. I've just finished a collection of poetry that's based on Rapunzel. So I'm very inspired by myth and fairy tale. And that collection has been sold, but I can't say to who yet. And it's this whole story of Rapunzel from when she's a child to after the tower. And I tie it into the story of the Lady of Shalott, which is an Arthurian tale. So I blend Rapunzel and the Lady of Shalott together and wrote a whole book of poetry on that. And that was an interesting challenge. I'm working on some poems right now that are a little more on the science fiction side. Sorry, there's a noisy car going by. Just gonna let it go by. Okay, there we go. So I'm working on like science fiction body horror, looking at different aspects of what alienness is, like from an alien's point of view, from a human's point of view. I'm inspired by, I don't know, the deep mysteries, origin stories, just, yeah, like I'm just trying to see a different take, like a different perspective on something. You're turning it on its head or on its side and just seeing if I can come up with a new telling sometimes of old stories, because of course nothing is completely original, like
Yeah.
zombies, right? Zombies are almost every culture in the world in some form or another,
Yeah.
as are vampires, and both of them are, when I did a bit of research, I realized that these creatures, these supernatural creatures, symbolize the other. And so it's also about the fear within a human of losing individuality and sense of self. So
Oh.
if you're taken over by a zombie, you become a mindless, automaton. If you're taken over by a vampire, you lose a choice, you become other, you become not human. So, and there's a lot of aspects of that where the othering happens, or we are afraid of the other. And sometimes, unfortunately, in our societies and cultures, they will other people, other races, other genders. So I do, like, a lot of my poetry, while I don't necessarily consider it feminist, it would be considered feminist just because I give voice. My first collection of poetry, I Dreamed a World, is all myth and fairy tale and poems from the female perspective. So it's giving voices to, like, Leda, and how did she feel about a swan who might be a god kind of, raping her pretty much. And, just other tales of where women have a voice, whether it is to give them strength, and not all of them are good. Some of them, get twisted along the way, but I do often look at that female perspective and how to give strength to the female voice in a world where, unfortunately, women are still subjugated, murdered, raped, kept as chattels. So that is a very important aspect for me in my writing. And also environmental. The stories that I wrote that all had that Greek mythic aspect of death and dying also has a background of an environment in the future where something has gone wrong and it's toxic and poisoning people. So they must live in sort of a bit of a Mad Max world. There's masks, you have to protect yourself from the environment. It's distorting things. So though I'd say those two are probably my strongest elements in my writing right now, is both the environmental aspect and the righting of wrongs for those with lesser voices.
Yeah, and what you mentioned about zombies also. I never really thought about that, how it's becoming outside of yourself and out of control. I'm so literal, so in my brain I go, how can zombies ever really exist? When you're dead, nothing works. So it makes absolutely no sense that a zombie would be hungry. They don't have a sense of smell, they can't see because their brain doesn't work. Nothing works. And zombies make no sense. And then you make sense of it for me. You go, this isn't about that. It's not literal. There's this meaning behind it. And that speaks volumes.
Well, and the original types of like the voodoo zombies, like if you looked at voodoo religion and culture, they would do like rituals that would maybe involve substances. And I can't speak with any true knowledge on this because I haven't done enough research. But the original zombies were living people who lost their force of will and could be used as slaves, or basically an army of mindless humans. So they weren't dead, but they were dead here. They had no volition on their own. So that was zombies before the popularization of the more common zombie. And of course, there's been a lot of different movies and stories now that take the strains of zombieism in different directions, whether it's fungal, whether it's a virus, whether they move fast, whether they move slow, whether they can bite you anywhere, whether they just want to eat your brains. So, people do play on that, and whether there is any intelligence or life. Like one of the movies I saw a while ago was where the zombies were evolving. So they were developing a group mentality, and one could call the others and they would attack together and start to strategize. I think that one had Dwayne Johnson in it. So it came out in the last couple of years, but people are taking that story and then evolving it in one way or another.
Well, that said, I wanted to ask you about one of your works because you talk about kind of this idea of evolving. So let me just show you a picture real quick, and I'd like, if it's okay, you to tell me about this story. If you can see it.
Oh, okay. So this is a collection of poetry, The Lore of Inscrutable Dreams. And the cover was done by a local artist who, she does amazing, beautiful work. And she read my poems and chose from one of the poems in the collection. And there's a couple sections. There's about 5 poems based on The Wizard of Oz. there's some poems based on the tarot, and then the majority of the poems are based on magical objects that mythical or fairy tale beings might use, like the tooth fairy's pouch, or the mermaid's comb, the singing harp, the looking glass. And I've written a poem on each of these. And this one, I also have gargoyles. So this guy's a gargoyle. And, and again, I just do a narrative, mostly narrative style poem based on these various magical objects. And I started writing those poems when I was on a trip to Spain.
Oh. Well, gargoyles also, they become stone, right? So
Yeah,
they fall in that category too, like zombies, where they're controlled somehow.
exactly. Yeah.
Interesting. So with your writing, what are some writing goals that you have?
So I have my third poetry collection is about to come out. It's called Weird Worlds, and it actually encompasses a lot of poetry I've written over 30 years. And I'm going to be hopefully doing a mini book launch at FantasyCon in England on October 12th and 13th. And I am working on, I always am working on a few short stories, but I'm working on a alternate history vampire novel that takes place in the 1400s in a world where everyone is vampires.
Oh.
So there are hominids, but they're not Homo sapiens, and they're free range or kept as cattle. They do not challenge, like in the Planet of the Apes. They don't challenge the ruling order, but every personage, Joan of Arc is a vampire, the King of France is a vampire, Boudica is a vampire, everyone is a vampire. So then it's like, it's writing in an alternate world, but how would a world be where vampires aren't necessarily going to build with wood, they're going to build with stone because they don't want to burn. They don't need to chop down all the trees because they don't need to cook, because they don't cook, they drink blood.
Yeah.
And they also live for thousands of years. So what would that world look like? And so I'm working on that. It's going slowly, but I am working away on that and hoping I can get it done in the next year.
Any chance you could throw Amelia Earhart in there?
I'm not that far in the future for this one. I'm placing it around the 1400s, 1500s. So I did write a story that was in a collection called Evolve, and it was all about vampire stories, but that had changed. And the story I wrote was called Embers Amongst the Fallen, An Ember Amongst the Fallen, which my first collection of short stories was titled Embers Amongst the Fallen. And it was in the modern world, but it was again a vampire culture. And so people work, but they work mostly at night, but sometimes people have day shifts. They live in apartments, but they have very heavy curtains. They don't sleep in coffins. They don't have stoves, but they have pens in their places so they can keep their live cattle. If they want to drink, like a glass of wine or a glass of beer, they have the hominid drink it, and then they tap their veins and drink blood wine or blood beer. So that was the genesis. That story was the genesis for the novel I'm now working on.
You also mentioned Boudica, which I'm glad that as people are still writing about Boudica, because people don't know this person who's historic and this really strong female who should be known in the world, like as far as history goes.
Yeah, because it's like she was the queen of the Iceni, and she was the only ruler that managed to repel the Romans for a while. I mean, they then captured her and raped her daughters in front of her, in a nice brutal style. But in my book, the Romans don't win. The Roman Empire is a small little blip, and Boudica and the kingdom of Britannia has expanded, into other parts of Europe over 1400 years. So they repelled successfully, but she was a strong ruler who managed to actually repel them. And I thought I read, probably 15 years ago, that they thought they had found her grave. But then when I've tried researching it recently, I can't find anything. But she was
the grave thing.
Sorry,
I read that the grave was just suspected to be, but they found that it wasn't. It was something like that.
Oh, okay. That might be why I can't find anything. But she was the descriptions of her was that she was very tall, had long red hair, and wore probably a plaid style gown of the era at the time, which would have just been pinned at the shoulders, and wore armbands. And she would have worn the torque, because the torque with the Celts was a sign of leadership. So it was a metal band that they wore around their necks that indicated status and leadership.
You know,
So yeah.
I think you just described Red Sonja.
Well, Red Sonja wore a metal bikini bra.
Yeah. Aside from that, you know, the
Yeah.
red hair, the medallion, and
Yeah, maybe I think, was that Robert Howard? Maybe he fashioned her off of Boudica. You never know.
yeah, never linked that together until just now. Could
Yeah.
could you tell the viewers how to find you on social media?
Yes. I'm on Facebook. I think it's like, if you look at Facebook, and I think my number is 966. Give me 1 second to pop over there.
Okay.
And see what comes up.
And I can also add links in the description later.
Yeah, Colleen.Anderson.9699. And then I have, unfortunately, quite defunct blog at the moment, and I hope I can start getting back to it regularly. And that's at WordPress, and it's just Colleen Anderson. So with the WordPress, I'm sort of on Instagram, but not a lot. So I can give you the link to that. But oh, and right now I am the president of the Science Fiction and Fantasy Poetry Association. So the website is, and I'm just going to look this up here. It's sfpoetry.com is the association, and also it's on Facebook. People don't have to be a member to join the Facebook group, and membership, you can get a membership for, I think, $15 US, which is a virtual membership. You get PDFs of our publications, which include a quarterly print magazine, and there's a quarterly online magazine called Eye to the Telescope, and lots of poetry. So I can be found through there as well.
Yeah, your books are also available on Amazon too, and I think I follow you. If not, I will. But yeah,
yes,
there.
And through the publishers as well. In that case.
Yeah, good point that there's other ways aside from Amazon to shop for books.
Yes, yeah, like each of my collections. Well, my first collection I self-published, so that is Amazon. The second collection is out of the UK, and I think you can still get print copies. And then each of my poetry collections are through different publishers. And I know you can order direct or order on Amazon for them.
Okay, well, thank you for joining today.
Yeah, well, thank you.
As we now have merch. That's right, 42 Stories Anthology Presents Book of 42 Squared merchandise. And I hope that you get it to support the anthology. There was a big team of 42 people, and they need to get paid. So that's what your merch will help with. And in addition, a token payment of profits is going to go to United Through Reading and the charity. That's the charity that the anthology donates to. But as far as the store goes that I just opened, let's take a look. You can see my store name is BAMWrites. So you can go to the products. Here there's different colors of the book title, and there's a number of different things you can see in here. For example, there's a thermos, and I actually forgot what they're called because I lived in Japan so long. I don't even call them that anymore. But yeah, there's different things, shirts, mouse pads. I couldn't find a towel on Redbubble. I really wanted that to happen. But you can see a lot of different products. There's even a magnet that's probably my favorite, and a number of other things in different ways. The logo can be seen in multiple ways, not just by one, but several. Yeah, there's a lot of different products that you could check out by searching for BAMWrites or 42 Stories Anthology. I'll put a link in the description. But yeah, this is 42 version. This is 42 of the logo. I don't know how to word that correctly at the moment. But yeah, you can see a lot of different things. Mats, bags, pillows. I'm working on this towel. I'm gonna get it. But yeah, as I said, my favorite's the magnet. The book itself actually looks kind of cool. If you open this up, you can see that the multiple 42s appears on both sides. And so that's interesting. Redbubble is a reliable place. I know some of you might be thinking, well, if I buy merch at a store like this, it's just going to fall apart. Actually, not the case. If you look here, I got a mouse pad from my favorite video game. It's called Shenmue, and I bought this maybe 7 or 8 years ago, and it's still the mouse pad I use. And it's fine. I have some cup coasters from there. They still work. I have t-shirts from there that are maybe 5, 6 years old. These products actually do last. So if you're thinking of supporting the 42 Stories Anthology, it's definitely the way to go. All right. Thank you for joining for another exciting edition of 42 Stories Anthology. I've been your host.